Good morning, everybody. Wonderful having you here. On October 7th, the people of Israel woke up to a horrendous reality. We witnessed horrific attacks on innocent babies, women, men, and the elderly, whole families. The atrocities executed by Hamas terrorists and Gazan citizens who joined them were unspeakable. This was not just yet another round in the conflict between Israel and its enemies. It was an unforgivable crime against humanity committed by terrorists who have outcast themselves from humanity. We will never forget that day, and we will never forgive it. Nearly 1,200 people were massacred on that Shabbat. The terrorists did not distinguish between babies and adults, nor did they care about nationality or ethnicity. Over 250 babies, men, women, and the elderly were abducted to Gaza that day. Some were murdered on the spot, while others were killed in captivity. In the following days, approximately 3,500 students, faculty, and staff were called up for reserve duty to fight in this war, to defend our country, and to work towards the return of our kidnapped citizens. We are still in the midst of that war, grieving the fallen citizens and soldiers, and counting the days that family members and friends have been held in captivity. It has been 241 days of anguish and suffering, 241 days of sleepless nights and apprehension for their families. Sadly, nearly 80 members of the Technion family, students, staff, and alumni, lost a family member on October 7th and in the war that followed. Sons, daughters, parents, and siblings were among those murdered or killed in action. 12 of our family members were abducted to Gaza. 3 were released, 1 was murdered, and the fate of 8 remains unknown. 2 of our students, Dov Moshe Kogan and Dennis Kochmalov Wexler, and our graduate Eliran Yeager, have fallen in the battle in Gaza. And our graduate Yaakov Nedling has fallen in Samaria. 2 of our alumni, architect Yoram Bar-Sinai and Dr. Hagit Rafaeli Mishkin, were murdered on October 7th. They all paid the ultimate price to secure our life. Too many Technion students were injured, and we hope and pray for their full recovery. We gather here today in solidarity. We have left an empty seat here, this yellow chair, here and in every lecture room, to symbolize and remind us of the children, women, and men still held in the tunnels of Gaza. We pray for their return to their families.
Every single one of us is a whole world.
כל אחד ואחת מאיתנו הם עולם ומלואו.
Cada uno de ellas y de ellos es un mundo entero.
Ieder van ons is een hele wereld. Chacun d'entre eux est un monde à part entière.
לכולנו חלומות, תקוות ותוכניות לעתיד.
We all come from different backgrounds, countries, religions.
אנחנו אומנם יחידים, אבל יוצרים יחד קהילה אחת גדולה ומאוחדת.
When one of us is missing,
it creates a whole.
Vissa kaljukapnia serette. אנחנו רוצים את משפחותינו בחזרה.
we willen onze vrienden terug.
أصدقاء وزملاء
Отцы, матери, сестры, братья.
בלעדיהם אנחנו לא שלמים.
Without them, we are not whole.
Bring them home.
تركهم وجههم على درنا دبر.
أرجعوهم الآن.
Tragam-eles para casa, agora.
Hämta dem alla nu.
Portateli tutti a casa ora.
Bringt alle zurück jetzt.
Bring them all home now.
עכשיו.
Nu.
עכשיו.
Now.
Board members, Technion management, faculty, dear guests. Welcome to the opening plenary of the Technion Board of Governors. My name is Asaf Binder and I am secretary of the board. A few words about the board committees. Most of the committee meetings will take place today and tomorrow. All the board members are welcome to attend the open committee meetings. On Wednesday, we will present the committee recommendations in the closing plenary. About the program, in addition to QR codes on your name tags, which are linked to the detailed program, Technion staff are here to help you. You can identify them by their name tags, and they are staffing the desks in the visitor center and at the hotel. Now we would like to take a moment to pay our respects to the members of the board who passed away since June 2023, and to Technion students and alumni who lost their lives in the current war. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and join us for a moment of silence. It is my pleasure to invite the chairman, Mr. Scott Limaster, to address the board.
Good morning. President Sivan, members of the board, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to welcome you to this very special Board of Governors meeting. This event is typically a celebration of Technion's global impact. This year, we are gathered to recognize Technion's accomplishments, but even more importantly, to express our solidarity with the incredible men and women who have dealt with and continue to deal with the challenges of incredible scope and dimension. Many of us observing from afar marvel at the resilience of the Technion community, the perseverance and ingenuity directed at meeting current challenges while also maintaining the structure to sustain Israeli innovation for years to come. Some of you may remember last year when I spoke with Amos Horev, who was Technion's president for 10 years, including during the Yom Kippur War. His tenure was instrumental, despite the challenges of the war, in expanding Technion's research and educational offerings, fueling its growth into the innovative powerhouse it is today. Like the Technion, President Horev is celebrating his 100th birthday this year, and I think it's appropriate for us to recognize him at this point. And please join me in wishing him a hearty mazel tov on his centennial year. Like President Horev, in 1973, Uri Sivan has found himself in a position many leaders would struggle to navigate. He and his team were confronted with the challenge of steering a university through a time of war, and he has been a fearless leader. In sharing one of his messages to the Technion family a few months ago, I used the metaphor of a ship confronting a serious storm. In such times, the crew and the passengers look to the captain for guidance, reassurance, and confidence. This message I was pleased to learn created a tremendous response from our board members, and they are in full agreement that yes, Uri is our captain. We derive our strength and confidence from him. The entire Technion community here in Haifa has shown its strength in the face of adversity over many months now, and will continue to do so. The Board of Governors and the entire Technion family, the Technion Mishpacha, recognizes the sacrifice of the thousands of individuals who are the lifeblood of this institution. Since October 7th, more than 3,500 students and faculty have been called to the front lines. To those of you in the audience who have served, it is a privilege to thank you for your bravery today and every day. Having a significant portion of the Technion community missing from campus begs the question, how do you operate a university in a time of war? With the support of everyone in this room and the Jewish community around the world, the Technion has transformed its operations to ensure research continues without neglecting the urgent, sensitive needs of its students and faculty. In large part, due to those of you here today, the Technion Emergency Student and Security Support Fund has raised nearly $8 million, with $1.5 million invested directly into student services. Every contribution has supported the Technion as it adapts to conditions including increasing security innovations, technology, childcare for essential workers, emergency rescue and relief supplies, and psychological and financial support for students. It is gratifying to witness the impact of the global Technion community coming together for this purpose. Our international societies have demonstrated inspiring and creative acts of support in the last year. The American Technion Society that created a robust portfolio of materials for the Technion Centennial that are being used by Technion societies around the world. One anonymous donor provided $1.5 million for psychological counseling of reservist students. ATS has also invested in elevating the Technion mission in American media, bringing the strong, positive voices of our faculty and leadership to the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and more, spreading the word of Technion's critical contributions overseas. In Canada, many generous gifts to the fund included one earmarked for two brothers from kibbutz near Oz, who have been studying biotechnology and aerospace engineering here at the Technion. They have one younger sibling in the IDF and a sister now studying in a pre-military leadership academy. On October 7th, they experienced the murderous attack on their kibbutz. They survived, but their father was murdered, and their mother is missing, possibly kidnapped. Their house was destroyed. The brothers have no home and no parents. An empty apartment in the graduate student village has been allocated to this family. Canadian donors jumped into the chance to provide them 2 years' rent and groceries and to furnish the apartment, and the Technion will provide emotional support for the family. The German Society received extraordinary responses to their appeals, many gifts from people whom they have never heard of, who have never given before. The Doroviches, a generous family in Australia, donated the entire $100,000 bequest received from their late mother to the emergency fund. And I would like to give special mention to Technion UK President Paul Charney, who is sitting in this room somewhere, I'm pretty sure. Paul is sitting in the back row. Thank you, Paul. Paul dropped everything on October 8th to fly from his home in London to Israel and rejoined the IDF reserves. He spent 2 months on duty before returning home. And I'm happy to note that Paul will be receiving an honorary fellowship from the Technion this evening. So good on you, Paul. This worldwide solidarity has carried the Technion and Israel through existential challenges before, and it will carry us through these times as well. This war will likely be a long-term effort. As a board, we will continue to show our commitment to our friends here in Israel, proving that our community is stronger than ever. It is essential that this strength is maintained and does not waver. And now to the business of hand, the BOG itself. I would like to talk to the people in the building who have never been to a BOG committee meeting. Are you a member of a committee or attending a committee meeting? I just want to point something out that happens and surprises some people sometimes. It may happen that you walk into the meeting room and you are handed a packet labeled resolutions, and this sometimes suggests to uninitiated members that the resolutions have already been decided upon when you walk in the door. That is not the case. These resolutions are a starting point for discussion and for you to offer your comments, and it's a launching point. We want to hear from you. In fact, you have responsibilities to comment. You are to ask your own critical thinking and to the challenge before the committee, ask questions, make suggestions, and if you find it appropriate, propose your own resolutions. We all have a responsibility to share our perspectives, knowledge, and experience to help guide the Technion toward continued success and even greater achievements. I am honored to open the 2024 Technion Board of Governors meeting. Over the last several months, President Savan has made it clear just how vital the Technion will be in rebooting Israel when this war is over. Technion excellence has been a linchpin for Israel over the last century, and now more than ever, the country relies on the innovations that start here in our labs in Haifa. In the coming days, we will strengthen our commitment to collective actions in support of the Technion, and we will reflect on all that has changed. We will celebrate the scientific progress that continues and work toward an even stronger future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lemaster. I invite Professor Wayne Kaplan to the podium.
Thank you. Good morning. We are incredibly grateful for the support that the Technion receives from generous supporters who help advance science, technology, and education in Israel. One of the highest recognitions given to a donor at the Technion is the title of Guardian. I would like to invite Professor Uri Sivan to join me at the podium. As you can see, we have a number of new Guardians this year. I'm delighted at this point to invite to the podium Rabbi Dr. Roger Hurst to receive the Guardian pin. Just so you know, Roger Hurst has very generously supported faculty recruitment at the Technion, which is one of our highest priorities. His substantial contribution to our faculty recruitment process is invaluable, as it will enable us to attract and retain top-tier people from around the world. This, in turn, of course, enhances the quality of education and research at the Technion. By investing in our faculty, Dr. Hurst is directly contributing to the advancement of knowledge and innovation at the Technion. His very significant support will have a profound and lasting impact, fostering academic excellence and driving technological progress for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a very special pin, combining Roman glass with gold, combining Roman glass and gold, and it symbolizes actually the long history of this place, of Israel. So congratulations, and thank you again so much.
In 1961, I was a young man. I came to Israel to become a student. And I love this country. And what does a young kid do when they love it? I fell in love with the first Israeli girl I met. Absolutely. And her father was Amelia Rachach, the great physicist of the Hebrew University, perhaps the father of Israeli physics. And every night I would bring her home, usually very late, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. He was always working at his kitchen table, writing these more wonderful equations. And occasionally he'd leave me in the room and I could look at these equations, couldn't figure them out, had no idea what was in them, but that left a deep impression. And here I am, many years later, with this wonderful thing that I deeply appreciate. Thank you for help, and also, don't thank me, thank this university.
At this point, I'm honored to announce that this year's recipient of the President's Award for Exceptional Achievements is Associate Professor Yair Goldberg from the Faculty of Data and Decision Sciences, where we are sitting today. Professor Goldberg, would you please join us at the podium? Yair is a biostatistician known for his expertise in statistical theory and applied research across public health domains. During the COVID-19 pandemic, his critical policy-shaping analysis of vaccination strategies led to Israel's decision to begin administering a booster dose to the elderly population, which dramatically reduced the potential mortality and severity of the disease. Please join me in applauding Yair for his amazing work.
I want to say just a few words about the award. It's the President Award, the President Prize. I renewed a tradition last year, and the idea there is that it's not only a remarkable achievement, it should also be an achievement or contribution to society, something that really affected society. Yair is very modest, but his work during the pandemic, to a large extent, directed the way Israel and the rest of the world coped with the pandemic, as far as, for instance, vaccination is concerned. So it turns out that from theoretical statistics, one can actually affect the world. I know it sounds surprising, but as an experimentalist, I have to tell you that I'm surprised, but it did. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So, to mark the celebration of the Technion's 100th year, which, as the President mentioned, we'll be celebrating starting next academic year, the Technion will issue a documentary, a full-length documentary movie, which was directed by Uri Rosenwachs, one of the leading film directors in Israel, who is here with us today. The film was produced by Eli Bain, and this documentary, which really chronicles 100 years of contributions of the Technion to Israel and the world, will be released for the centennial celebrations next year. But we can't say that without showing what it could be. So we have a trailer for you to witness now, and we'll see that at this time.
Technion has a lot of secrets. Let's try to unravel some of their secrets.
It's hard to believe that 100 years have gone by.
The Technion urges the graduates to build Israel, to build Technion, to build a better day.
מהספסלים האלה קמה מדינת ישראל, לא פחות מזה.
At first, no one wanted to give us a chance.
There really is no need for more than 4 or 5 new engineers in Palestine per year.
Mr. Green, history will prove you wrong.
We pressed on, against all the odds, embracing every challenge.
מתחת לטכניון זה היה. אמרו לנו שיש שם הרבה נשק.
המדינה שבדרך הייתה זקוקה למהנדסים. היא הייתה זקוקה לאנשי מקצוע, היו זקוקים לכבישים, לדירות, להקים את התעשייה הכבדה, המוביל הארצי. תנופה אדירה שהמהנדסים בוגרי הטכניון נתנו למדינת ישראל.
דוד בן גוריון הבין בחזון שלו את החשיבות העצומה של הטכניון להתפתחות התעשייתית של המדינה ולביטחון המדינה.
ובן גוריון מטיל על הטכניון להקים פקולטה להנדסה אווירונאוטית. עכשיו, באותה תקופה בארץ היה קומץ אנשים שבכלל ידעו לאיית אווירונאוטיקה נכון.
אווירונאוטיקה זה סיפור אהבה. זה דבר מדהים לראות מטוס ממריא, טס בשמיים ונוחת. אם את נמשכת להנדסה ולטכנולוגיה, לכי על זה.
This year, the Technion Centennial, we take pause and look back on our history, all that we've accomplished.
This is from Professor Einstein's visit here in 1923.
One day, perhaps, one of these young men may follow in the path of the genius, of Einstein.
Professor Horstgut, Professor Shechanover, Dan Sheshman.
אנחנו מהראשונים בעולם ומובילים היום כדי לצלם גלי אור מתקדמים.
פרופסור גילון, בוקר טוב. בוקר טוב. מה שלומך? טוב מאוד, מה שלומך? That's the extent of my Hebrew.
אני לא יכול לדבר, אני יכול להגיד לך שלזכותו המדינה חייבת הרבה.
הוא הרים פה תחום חדש של מוליכים למחצה.
A wild dream from the turn of the 20th century has become one of the world's leading technological universities.
התחלתי באינטל בתור סטודנטית בטכניון, פקולטה למדעי המחשב.
ופתאום את מנכ"לית.
עברו כמה שנים מאז.
סבינה יהודה.
למיטב ידיעתי, הרופא החסידי הראשון שהוכשר בישראל.
זה פשוט מרגש לראות את זה. לשם אנחנו הולכים, בעצם סוג של תיקון עולם.
Don't miss that movie. At this point, I'd ask for those at the table to please take your places in the audience, and for Professor Sivan, the president, to give his annual address.
So, good morning again, everybody. I can't tell you how moved I am from this very special gathering. You know, we're supposed to celebrate our centennial, but then October 7th happened, and with time we realized that we should change the theme into solidarity. You know, Israel and the Jewish people in general have been going through very difficult times. 8 very difficult times, very difficult months. But you should know that your solidarity, your support, your belief in the Technion, in us, is invaluable. You cannot imagine how important it is. And I know that this is not the most natural thing to travel to Israel in these days. I mean, we're really grateful to you for that. So thank you. Thank you very much. And this Board of Governors is about you as much as it is about the Technion and about the Technion people. Thank you very much. Well, you know, actually my administration went through a series of crises. If you like, we are the Forrest Gump of all catastrophes. In a sense, of course, nothing can be compared to October 7th and the war that followed. But during all those crises, including the last one, I've learned 2 important lessons, actually. First is the importance of community. In times of crisis, always, but especially in time of crisis, community is incredibly important. With strong community, and you're part of that family, we can go through everything. I mean, we can solve and cope with everything that is happening. And I have to tell you, I mean, I was mentioned there, but the solidarity among the Technion people and our supporters, and the way people volunteered to help, was truly inspirational. And I'm very proud to be heading this institution. And the second lesson has to be with a compass, with a guiding star. What we discovered in those years, and especially in the past 8 months, is how important values are. You know, when you sail in turbulent water, stormy water, it's not always easy to know which way to sail. There are incredible pressures to go this way, to go that way, to give up on this thing or not. But what we discovered together collectively is that if one adheres to the values, to the compass, again, we can define a very clear direction. And then, of course, you know, you turn a little bit 10 degrees right, 10 degrees left, but overall, you never lose your way. And the Technion is very special in that respect. I'm not familiar with any other institution that has such a strong set of values. And they date back 100 years. It's not something that started with me or with Peretz or even with Amos Chorev. It started, those values were kind of engraved in stone 100 years ago and even before. These values of liberalism, of equity, of giving fair chance to everybody regardless of its gender, ethnicity, financial situation, etc. Inclusion, diversity, and seeking truth. These values have been with us for 100 years, and in a sense, it was easy to navigate these storms because we had those values with us. And I'm truly proud of it. So I'll go now to my presentation. And what I thought of doing is, first of all, giving you some kind of an overview of the past 8 months, what occupied us, what kept us busy, and only later I'll go to the governance aspect of this meeting. So we go back to October 7, already at about 9 o'clock in the morning or so, it became clear the magnitude of the events has becoming gradually clear. Started with a couple of dozens casualties. The dimensions have not been clear yet, but it was becoming clear that this is a real catastrophe. And as the day unfolded, more and more the numbers kept growing, and the dimensions, it was becoming clear that this is in fact a horrific day. It was also becoming clear that all systems failed. It was a total failure, a total meltdown of all institutional systems. Already around noon, we have assembled by Zoom our situation room, essentially collecting all people that were relevant to the running of the university. And we physically opened the war room on Sunday morning, and it has been open and functioning for several months since then. Already on October 7th, thousands of our students, faculty, staff have been called to active duty. And they were basically dispatched all over the country. And then we started getting calls for help. Turned out that they arrived at their units. Many times there was no food there. There was shortage of equipment, shortage of medical supply, and so on. And I have to say that with the help of our student association, and Itai is sitting over here, the chairman of our ASAT, that's our student association, the Technion has turned essentially into a logistic hub. And we started shipping tons of food, of some military supply and medical supply to the units of our reservists and to 2 brigades that we adopted. One brigade is a very interesting story that tells you something about the Technion. That brigade is called Carmeli Brigade. The Carmeli Brigade was in fact established in 1948 based on Technion faculty and Technion students at that time. And we have stayed in close contact with that brigade throughout the years. We still commemorate together our Memorial Day. Very soon after, many families that were able to escape the Gaza envelope were looking for a place to stay. It was still summer vacation for us, so we had some space in our dormitories, we had some space in our guest house, and we just invited them in. Overall, during these months, hundreds of families, both from the Gaza envelope and later also from the northern border, found a place here. Many of them came with just their shirt on. That's it. And the Technion people have provided them with everything from clothing to personal computers. And I have to say that again, the way people volunteered, the way people contributed tirelessly was truly inspirational. I'll never forget that. I mean, I'll never forget that spirit, which also testifies to the incredible spirit of this institution. And then came all kind of needs for technical solutions. I won't go into that, into too many details, but we have assembled a technological, if you like, situation room, trying to address different challenges, mostly provided to us by our reservists dispatched in the different units. We also supported the community around us. Unfortunately, the Technion family has taken a severe hit on October 7th. I've already mentioned that. All in all, about 80 members of our extended Technion family were either lost family members either on October 7th or the war that followed. And we did everything in our power to embrace them and to embrace the rest of the community here at the Technion and in our surroundings. Now, so those were the first days of first month on October 7th and in the days that followed. And you just have here some pictures that remind us of this incredible volunteering spirit. Well, later, as it was already mentioned, I mean, the total number of students, faculty, staff that were called to active reserve duties was about 3,500. And they were facing financial challenges. We have set up an emergency fund, and with your help and the Israeli society, other societies, we started raising funding to support those students. Many of them lost their jobs, families lost their businesses, spouses lost their jobs, and there was an acute need just supporting them financially. I'll tell you later a little bit. It should go forward. Right, so so we supported them financially. That was the first challenge. In a sense, the easiest one. Many of those reservists have served over 100 days. And yesterday it was shown, some of them served for 150 days, some of them even for 200 days. And many of them missed school. We have delayed the school year by nearly 3 months just to wait for more reservists to be released so that they can start studying together with their peers. We delayed it longer than any other university feeling a commitment, feeling a strong commitment to them. I mean, they dropped everything they were doing, volunteered, joined the IDF and other security forces, and we felt obliged to them. We stayed in contact with them throughout that period, and here the different departments did really an incredible work staying in contact. And also Ayelet and Ayelet's people, Ayelet is the student dean. Throughout that time, we stayed in close contact with them, trying to solve any problem they had, just releasing them to do what they were supposed to do in their, within their reserve duties. And then the year eventually started in mid-January rather than late October. And reservists have been coming back, some of them. Some of them missed weeks of school. And we have put together an intensive support system, essentially working with each one of them individually, trying to draft an itinerary or curriculum, individual curriculum for each one of them, so that they don't lose the semester, don't lose the year. This is an incredible effort. Hundreds and hundreds of people are involved with it. And last but not least, unfortunately, a significant number of our reservists came back different than the way they were before October 7th. We expanded our psychological services. We trained our psychologists and social workers in identifying trauma, identifying post-trauma, and at least being able to give some first aid to those coming back. And another challenge has been and still is, I mean, this is still ongoing, has been and still is those students who came back and have difficulties reintegrating into school. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, dating back 40 years, but coming back from the battlefield is difficult. There is a sense of isolation. You cannot share the experiences you went through. You cannot share it with anybody who wasn't there, who didn't experience the same thing. And in many of those who came back actually have difficulties to concentrate, to focus on their studies, etc. We are trying to help them the best way we can. And the work that has been done is really incredible by Oded, by his people, by Ayelet, by others. Another issue we were dealing with throughout that time is the tension between especially two communities here on campus, the body of Jewish students and the body of Arab students. Traditionally, there have always been very good relations between Jews and Arabs in Haifa in general, and especially at the Technion. As far as I know, it's one of the few universities, if any, where they share the dormitories, they share apartments, and we have this long tradition. However, there has been a growing tension in the country, steered by people with some interests, and this tension also percolated into the campus. Unfortunately, I have to say, we announced very clear rules about expression, freedom of speech, etc. And the rules were that one can express one's opinions on any matter. I mean, could be politics, could be any matter. But we are not going to tolerate two things. We are not going to tolerate expressions of support of terror and the atrocities of October 7th specifically, and we are not going to tolerate incitement. And those were very clear rules which were enforced. And I have to say, you know, looking now on some universities, especially in the United States, enforcement is critical in that respect. It's not enough to make the rules, you also have to enforce them. In parallel, or later, I mean, naively, we were planning on trying to get these two groups together and talking to each other and so on and so forth. Turned out, I mean, our advisors explained to us that it was too early, right after October 7th. The wounds were still bleeding. So we have waited and only much later started working with the students, with the two groups. By the way, we have 3,000 students. So you should imagine January 14th, first day of school, because we were very concerned about that. 3,000 reservists coming back from Gaza, 3,000 Arab students coming back to school. Of course, had nothing to do with the events. And about 70 or so students that lost family members, still have family members abducted in Gaza. And this whole mix meets together on campus on January 14th. You may imagine the concern. I believe that we are all very proud of the fact that eventually there were any significant events. Zero. And we're now starting the second semester. First semester ended up with no incidents, and the campus is still quiet up till now, which I consider to be an important achievement. Obviously, there are under-surface currents, but I would say that overall the tension is slowly decaying. I would say that 99%, I don't know, 5 or 9 of the students are just looking to go back to the way it was before. There are, of course, fringes, but you know, it's just a handful of them on each side. And here I want really to mention incredible work done by Adi, Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion, and by other people. I can tell you that, well, those were not the easiest months for Adi. I mean, those waves many times broke on her, but you're here. One piece, one piece. Another front that we were involved in very effectively is everything that was taking place in campuses around the world, particularly in North America, the US and Canada, and also Australia, where the situation is as bad. Initially, Europe, it was kind of minor, but the situation has changed dramatically. So let me just give you more or less a snapshot of that, of the situation now. So US universities, Canadian universities, I mean, of course, you were all exposed to demonstrations, etc. Very unpleasant to be there as an Israeli and as a Jew. I visited the MIT about a month ago. Although it's a technological university, it's very unpleasant for them. However, with the exception of Sonoma College, as far as I know, no US university boycotts Israel. They refused, the presidents refused to go in that direction. Situation in Europe is very different. Situation in Europe, there are countries like Spain, for instance, that decided to boycott Israel academia, but there are many other universities that disconnected their ties, their academic ties with Israel, especially in Belgium, Ireland, the Netherlands, a few universities in the Netherlands. And of course, the major risk for us is our ties with the European programs. So this is another front, and Peretz is sitting here. Peretz was very active, trying to resist this boycott. I'm happy to say that recently VATAT, which is the committee of all presidents of all research universities in Israel, has finally decided to establish a body that will handle this war. It's nothing short of a war. It's the same war. It is just another front of the same war. Peretz knows that I was trying to push for putting together that body already 5 months ago. Wasn't able to convince them, but now it is being put together. Our relations with the Jewish community around the world, but especially in North America. The whole event, October 7th, obviously took place here, but the shockwaves spread throughout the Jewish world. So this is not a local event. This is an event of the Jewish people in its entirety. And I have to tell you that perhaps because we were established before the State of Israel and we were established as the technical school of the Jewish people, we at the Technion, we feel responsible for the welfare of the Jewish people. And we're trying to do our best. Different solutions. Oded here led a program where we invited faculty, students, postdocs, Jewish to come over to the Technion, spend time here, escape from those anti-Semitic expressions, etc. And also you may be interested to learn that as a result, in response to that, we will be opening in 2025 a program where the first year will be taught in English with extensive ulpan, with the hope that Jewish students will come over, study here the first year, learn Hebrew, learn enough Hebrew, and stay here, continue their studies with the rest of the students. So you should all know that we feel, as an institution, we feel responsibility to the Jewish people. We feel that we are part of it, they are part of us, we are the same people. Freedom of speech, I've already spoke about, so I will escape it. Now, This whole coping with the events, of course, would not have been possible without you and without incredible volunteering and taking responsibility by everything and by everybody in this campus. And especially, I would like to thank everybody shown here. So first of all, Scott, thank you so much for your ongoing support, really unwavering support of us throughout the time. Scott visited us several times, spoke frequently. Thank you, Scott. And Gideon, who is to a large extent my mentor, I have to say. Those who know Gideon's past may imagine that he coped with several crises of this magnitude. And Gideon, thank you also. Thank you very much. This is the senior management of the Technion. Odette, I never saw you with a tie before, but you apparently you have one. you have a tie, but incredible group of people, and it was truly a privilege to work with each and every one of them. The senior management, Anat, Ido, Noam, Avner, Jack, Moti, and Elias Tubi, Ofer Streichman, Yaron Paz, Jackie Schiller, the deans, Ayelet, who is sitting over there, very shy, but did incredible work. I mean, yeah, Ayelet is a mother to 14,300 students. I mean, so don't know which is the largest family you're familiar with, but I believe that it's a smaller number than what they had. And Hossam is here? No, Hossam did an incredible work. The challenge of putting together a program for the reservists to accommodate the need and so on, and together with Oded, they did an incredible job. Uri Peskin and Stavit Shalev. All of the faculty deans here. Ran is sitting over there. Have not identified anyone more. Another lesson that I've learned already during the pandemic was that in times of crisis, you have to distribute responsibility. Your natural reaction would be to work in a very centralized way, to keep all the authority in your hands. But that turned out to be a total failure. It simply doesn't work. And in fact, we started really doing well when we distributed the authorities. And the deans have a critical role in that respect. We have, as you know, we have international campuses, so Dudi Gershoni and Shingao Gong and Israel Tzidon in Cornell Tech, and the senior administration. You can see them here. You probably can all recognize them, and also the senior team of TRDF. So you can see that dozens and dozens of people contributed together with every faculty member, together with our student association that functioned remarkably well. And every teacher, senior, junior, it was incredible. It was truly inspirational. And now I'll go very briefly to the governance part of my presentation, and I'll end up with a brief view of what I see lying ahead to us. So in terms of budget, the total budget, the aggregated budget of the Technion is about 2.3 billion shekels, and it is divided to Technion operating budget at the level of nearly 1,700 million shekels. That's the main one. Our development budget, slightly over 200 million, and TRDF, which is a company fully owned by the Technion, about 122 million. And this number you see here, that's mostly funding raised by researchers to do their research. So around $120 million per year. Operating budget, you can see it here. I mean, you also have it in the President report. I'm not going to go into many details into that. This is the expected, the projected income and expenditure, and the gap between them is covered by our endowment, essentially, interest on our endowment. The distribution of income is seen here. About 73% of our operating budget comes from government, and it is approximately 50% of our aggregated budget. So you can see that although we are not a government institution, but we depend on government funding. This is one of the challenges we'll be facing in this year and in the coming year, because there are some severe cuts expected. You can see that tuition fee is actually a small percentage of our income. Then this is Technion society. This is not the total sum of money that societies raise. This is the fraction of the funding raised that goes into our operating budget and self-income. I won't go into that in too many details. And this is the projected expenditure. You can see it. But most importantly, you can see that emoluments and pension is more than 70% of our expenses. So when the government speaks about budget cuts, we have some fixed expenditures that we cannot play with, and it affects the difference. And that's a major effect. We spend about 8% student aid, maintenance, and operating expenses. Special support to our reserve students this year. Remember, I told you about this emergency fund. Up till now, we spent more or less about 18 million Israeli shekels, but we already know that we'll have several dozens more millions of shekel that we'll have to pay in order to cover scholarships for graduate students, extension of their studies by a semester, perhaps 2 semesters, due to their serving in the reserves. And we spent it, as you can see here, financial support, emotional support, those are the psychological services, academic support, and we exempted them from the dormitory rent fees. Projected deficit, you can see it here, it's about 50 million shekels. Most of it due to faculty recruitment. We never stop recruiting faculty. This is probably the most important aspect of our future. So we keep recruiting people regardless of the situation and no matter how much it costs. This is a strategic decision. We reach to our savings in order to recruit faculty members. And you can see that we recruited about 130 new faculty members in these 4 or 5 years. I mean, the total number of faculties in something like 570. So you can see that this is a significant fraction, about quarter of the number of faculty. New faculty have been recruited just in recent years. And of course, we don't grow much because retirement is similar to that. And just to give you a feeling, an average investment per new experimental faculty members is about 3 million shekels, close to $1 million on average, and it can go as high as 4 million, also in some cases. And this is a grand challenge for us, I have to say. Fundraising, this is total income from Technion societies. It's in the range of $100 million per year, and this is the main source of our development programs. Without this support, we would not have been able to develop the Technion. All new construction comes from there. Much of the recruitment of new faculty comes from there. All of our infrastructure comes from there, etc. Oops. Oh. And you have here, I mean, the different items in the development budget. Main one is the new construction, as you can see, but you can also have some impression of the other aspects. Campus development. Despite all those crises, we continued developing the campus. And this is a decision we took already during the first crisis, the pandemic. It is clear that when you go through crisis, if you're not careful, you are consumed by running by handling the crisis. But we took a decision to allocate significant fraction of our time and attention to keep developing the university according to the strategic plan we were drafting. So we are done. We finished the Zisapel Electrical and Computer Engineering building. It is being populated now. The Sagol Center for Intelligent Composite Materials being populated now. These two buildings already started in Peretz time. We completed the Technion Clinical Skills Learning Center in the Rapport Faculty of Medicine. And we are working now on Technion Water Reservoir. The Carasso Food Tech Innovation Center is in final stages, will probably be inaugurated sometime during fall. The Andrea and Lawrence Wolf Center for Translation Medicine Engineering. This is a translational medicine center in collaboration with Rambam. It's under construction and also final design of the interiors. The Martin and Grace Druan Rosman High Performance Computer Data Center. Some of you may remember that we inaugurated it. Inaugurated the construction. We laid the cornerstone last year, but it is already in construction. The Didan and Betty Kahn Human Health Building, final stages of design, and we already have actually a construction permit. New computer science building in the Henry and Marilyn Taub Faculty of Computer Science. We already broke ground. This is the terrible noise some of you may hear. A new aerospace building, final design stages, chemical and laboratory equipment distribution center, and the Morton and Beverly Reckler Family Foundation research building that houses much of the infrastructure needed for hypersonic research. The Andre Cohen Deloroy Institute for Transformative Biomedical Sciences, final stages of design. We hope to break ground sometime by the end of the year, around December. or January 2025. The Stuart and Linda Resnick Sustainability Center for Catalysis, late stages of design, Zeman Institute for AI working already. Bruce and Ruth Rappaport Research Center has been inaugurated and functional, and the medical school dormitories on Allenby Street are on partial hold, mostly because we have difficulties handling all this construction. Faculty and students, very briefly, this is the number of faculty. This is the limiting factor for the development of the university. Obviously, it has to do with the height of the bar we set. I mean, if we lower the bar, we'll be able to recruit more, but this is not the way we want to go. So we are growing, as you can see, we are growing very slowly. But we devised, we opened a new academic position called Research Associate from Industry. We invite in senior people from industry to join us to spend a day or few days here at the Technion, take part in teaching, take part in research, take part in mentoring graduate and undergraduate students. And this way, we increase the effective number of our researchers and teaching power. Many prestigious prizes and awards. I won't go through it. We are very proud in all those awardees. It has been a great year, and past years have always been very successful in that respect. We have 2 new members of the Israeli Academy of Science, Ashraf Brik and Miki Elad. We have a record number of female students. At the moment, 45% of our bachelor students are women. So we are approaching 50 or 51%. And you can see the numbers, number of students. The number of graduate students has increased. This is our policy. It is also affected by our policy. Number of undergraduate students is more or less fixed at the level of about 10,000 students. Research and technology, or research and technology transfer, first of all, this is our ranking in Shanghai. Last year, we were ranked 79, coming back to where we were before, more or less. But if you count among technological university, we are ranked, according to Shanghai, we are ranked 10 in the world. And that has been more or less consistent. Research highlights, well, you can see it. I mean, time is running, so I'm not going to go into too many details. You have this data also in the President report. I can only perhaps mention that we are ranked first in Israel and in Europe in number of US granted patents for 3 years in a row, and again, Shanghai ranking, record number of prizes, and record number of European grants. New external research contracts. So as you can see, last year has been a record year for us, about $120 million in research contracts. Commercialization, which is now led by Lihi, and you can raise your hand. About nearly a year ago, we came to the conclusion that since the volume of interaction, collaboration with industry was growing so fast on one hand, and the volume of other research has also been growing, we decided to split the role of Vice President for Research into 2. So we have Vice President for Research. Noam is sitting over here. He's taking care of funding coming from and contracts coming from philanthropic foundations and also from government, fundamental research grants. And Lihi is responsible for all our ties with industry. And you can see here the effect of this emphasis over the years. You can see the number of spin-off companies funded, and you can also see the growth in the number of Technion private companies at $100 million or more. This is perhaps even more important than the number, because some of those companies are small. Global activities, I won't go into that. We put a lot of work, a lot of effort in our collaboration with Cornell around the Cornell Tech and Jacobs. You have the numbers here. I can only say here that this is of strategic importance to the Technion, and we'll be working very hard in coming years to further develop it, enhance our presence on Roosevelt Island and Guangdong, China. Number of students is growing. Is Dudi here? No. Numbers are growing. COVID slowed down the progress, but it is progressing. Strategic thrusts. So first of all, I'll be very brief. We have moved to a 5 years planning and budgeting from 1 year. That this is critical for us in terms of being able to plan ahead, to plan our future in a better way. It also requires from the departments work, trying to plan their own future in the long term. Once we move to 5 years planning and execution, we are able also to promote long-term development programs. It has been, I took a lot of work, started already with Boz Golani, but the process has been completed last year, and this year, this budget year, it's already the second year where we work with a long-term budget. I already mentioned Lee, EVP for Innovation Industry Relations. Our focus is on sustainability, human health, security. Those are the research fronts, which I discussed last year in more details. Joint study tracks. For the first time, I believe, in the history of, no, it's not true, the history of the Technion, but you know that the Technion comprises 18 different departments, and probably the main task I took upon myself when I was elected is to generate collaboration, communication between the different departments. We coined it One Technion, and I'm very happy to report that this year, for the first time, I'll tell you in how many years, 4 or 5 different faculties, by their own choice, decided to open a first year together, jointly. I mean, it sounds like a small thing, but culturally, this is a major development. The reason I'm saying that is because when the Technion opened its gates, actually electrical engineering, mechanical engineering was taught together. But then it split sometime in the 50s, and we're trying to go back in that direction. And Rafi, who is sitting over here, my VP and Director General, is promoting a very extensive program advancing our administrative stuff that has been somewhat neglected over the years. And you can see the main strategic thrusts in 2023, 2024. One Technion, mentioned already that, enhance research capacity, forge academic industry partnership, tackle global challenges, cultivate graduates for the 21st century, and drive innovation and social impact. I would like just to end up with very short comment about the future. You know, while we are coping with all the difficulties, tremendous challenges, we should already look into the future. We don't have the luxury of just investing all of our time and resources in handling this current situation, no matter how demanding it is. We should not do that. The Technion has a critical role in the rebooting of the country. And we have a critical role in many ways. We have a critical role as the main source or the largest source of engineers, especially graduate students and PhD students. They are needed. The industry depends, both industry and our defense sector depend on those students. The country depends on technologies that come out of this university. As important, I believe, that we have a critical role as far as society is concerned. The Technion has always been and will continue to be an example for life together, Arab students and Jewish students. This is the first time in their young lives where they actually meet and they spend here several years together. And this is a model, I hate to call it coexistence, we don't coexist together, we live together. So this is a critical model and a very successful model for life together, and I believe that this example is critical to the future of Israel. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Sorry for the long presentation.